In this video, we will unbox, swatch, and paint with Rembrandt's white opaque mixing set. I have been so excited to try out this set because it lends itself really well to my painting style, which is playing around with transparency and opacity and really layering my colors up. So let's go ahead and check out this palette. This is a professional grade watercolor by Royal Talons. It's Rembrandt brand. And inside is 12 half pan watercolors, 2 of which are the opaque white, and the rest are all transparent colors. These professional grade watercolors have very pure pigments and pure quality gum arabic for brilliant and consistent color mixing. This is an aluminum palette, and the center you can just lift out in case you ever want to swap your palettes quickly or if you need to clean it. You can just push those little tabs up and then you'll be able to take out the pans. Now on top of the pan wrapper there's a whole bunch of information including the pigment name in a couple different languages, the pigment number, light fastness rating, along with the color number and also the opacity or transparency. So for some of my other swatch charts, I won't save the wrapping, but for today, I do want to save all the wrappings for this, for our swatch chart. On the side of each of the pans, you'll also find a printed number. This is really nice to have as reference in case if you run out of a color, if you want to reorder either the pan or you can just use a tube of watercolor to refill it. Because there is so much useful information on these, I'm going to actually incorporate them into my swatch chart. I made a video a really long time ago showcasing how to do this, but I think it's time for a new one, and I think that this will lend itself really nicely to this selection of colors. All you need to do is be careful when you're unwrapping each of the pans, and essentially just take your scissors and cut that most center part. Be sure to leave the name on the side, as well as the information on the top above the swatch area of the printed color. That will include the light fastness rating and also the opacity or transparency. And before we move on, I do just want to highlight this little pocket brush that comes in the set. It is pure red sable. It's a size 4 round and it comes to a really nice point. So I'm going to use this today to paint the swatch chart. So after you figure out how you want your colored chart to be, I like to pre-lay out my colors, and then I'm going to use a neutral pH glue in my sketchbook to adhere them, but something like Elmer's glue would work fine. I'm also going to use a color shaper, just so I don't ruin any of my brushes. So I'm just going to lightly press those down in the sketchbook. It helps to grid off an area of where your colors are going to go as well, just to keep it tidy. And because this is all about opacity, I am going to use a black acrylic ink, which means that it's waterproof, down at the very bottom of the chart, as I'm going to be showing the opacity of each color mixed with the white. I always like to spray my watercolors with water before I begin, just to let those pans permeate a little bit more. It makes it easier for me to pick up colors with my brush. And you'll see on the top of the chart, I'm just doing the transparent color, just a regular color swatch. And then down at the bottom, I'm mixing it a little bit with the opaque white, just to see how it covers over the black acrylic ink. You'll also notice that they did not have a traditional lemon yellow in this set. For the cool yellow, it looks like there's a Azo Yellow Deep replacement, and this one is cadmium free, which is nice. I was really happy to see that they didn't go with the traditional Cad Red alizarin kind of combo. I am actually in love with this quinacridone red that is included in the set. It's a beautiful selection of colors, so I'm really excited to use it. Some of these are colors that I don't have in my collection, so I appreciate the fact that they went with some different alternatives. Next up we have our blues. We have a phthalo blue red, which is really warm and vibrant. It's gorgeous. And then we also have the indanthrene blue, which is kind of like a dark navy. And I appreciate this one is going to probably be used in a lot of shadows. It has that dark, cool tone to it. And although it is a transparent color, it looks like it has a wonderful range from very dark to light. In a lot of the Rembrandt Pocket sets, we have the dioxazine purple, but this time they actually included a quinacridone purple blue, which is wonderful because that means we have 3 quinacridones in this set. Both of our greens in this set are phthalo greens, so as you can see, they're very vibrant, and we have both a cool and a warm tone with that phthalo green yellow. Last but not least, we have the neutral tint, which is just a beautiful gray color that's going to be perfect for scaling back some of these extremely saturated colors. In addition to the full-sized color chart in my sketchbook, I also like to make one for on the go inside my palette lid. So I'm just going to use a piece of watercolor paper and cut it to fit the lid. I'm going to do a small swatch of each of the colors and laminate it. That way it's completely waterproof, and if I spill any paint on it, which I inevitably will, I'm a very sloppy artist, then my color chart will stay nice and clean, and I will be able to see the colors quickly for reference. After it's finished laminating, all you have to do is trim the edges with your scissors, and it should fit right inside that lid. So now that we have all of our colors swatched out, I thought it would be a great opportunity to work on a project that I have had on my bulletin board of ideas for way too long, which is to do some bat stickers. So I live in Tucson, and we have bats here that pollinate the cactus flowers. There's these really pretty cactus flowers that are in the Cereus family, and they only bloom at night, which is really cool. So here I'm just using the watercolors, only the set. I'm not using anything else. Normally I use acrylic ink with my watercolors, but I don't have to in this case because it comes with that really opaque white paint. So how I like to paint is I'll do my transparent washes of watercolor just to build up my local colors, and then I'll go back through with that opaque white mixed in with the color, essentially tinting it and making it more opaque, and I'll actually layer that on top of that first initial base. And what that does is it just creates so much dimension and depth. It also allows for a gestural underpainting, and then you can choose which areas of your illustration you want to tighten up and direct the viewer's focus by adding those more opaque areas. The 10 mixing colors in this palette are delightful to work with. You can get a variety of different colors, but as you can tell, the illustration I'm working on is quite muted. Just by mixing in a little bit of that neutral tint, you have a very full range between vibrant and muted colors. In addition, when you mix in that opaque white, now you have a full range of opacity and transparency. So this is a very user-friendly palette that gives you a quite full range. After spending a little bit of time with the paint, I really appreciate the fact that they used a neutral tint as opposed to a harsher black like an oxide or Mars black. In this case, I found myself using that neutral tint just to neutralize my colors, and then I used the darker blue or purple for my shadows. I did also want to include a little bit of this footage. This is for a video I'm filming for Ampersand, but I've used that exact same palette to achieve this level of vibrancy as well. So I just wanted to show you that you don't only have to do muted colors, you can have a really colorful painting as well with this palette. Beautiful jewel tones just creates such a unique combination of colors. Normally I would do a more traditional sketch or painting in my sketchbook, so I hope you guys don't mind that I'm painting like spot illustrations as stickers instead. If you are interested in knowing my process for the sticker sheet, definitely let me know down in the comments. I'd be happy to make a whole video on it, but I will briefly just talk about what's going on so you're not completely lost, especially during this step where I'm basically just going to add a black border around my shapes so that digitally when I'm editing it and I can clean those up very easily. Also, it allows me to paint a background around my stickers. I want my sticker sheet to be a piece of art in itself. I want it to just be beautiful all the way through. I don't want it to have a boring background. but because it's all hand painted instead of digital, it's kind of hard to keep everything tidy, especially with watercolor. So by using that watercolor as the actual illustration and then using a waterproof border such as an acrylic gouache, you can use acrylic ink, you could even use acrylic paint if you wanted to, just something that's going to be waterproof when dry. It allows you to add watercolor around each of the shapes. When working on projects such as this, it's always important to keep that digital aspect in mind, seeing as how I'm going to have to format it eventually for print. I do want to point out that these white stars and moons, the silhouettes that I'm adding, is with the white opaque paint in this set. It is very opaque. I'm pretty impressed. You don't have to add that much on there. If you wanted to do 2 coats, it would probably be completely opaque. That's because of the thick white pigment inside of it, and when you mix it with those beautiful transparent colors, magic happens. Overall, if you have not used opaque white watercolor before at home, you don't necessarily have to have this palette. You can always just mix that color with colors you already have. I really enjoyed it. I think this might actually be my favorite palette by Royal Talens. And that's saying a lot because I have a whole bunch of favorites. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful week.